There was a time when .35 caliber cartridges ruled the big game hunting scene. They brought down moose, they stopped charging bears, they dropped trophy bucks with authority. But today, many of those same rounds are fading into the background, headed down the same path as the dodo bird. It's a strange thing when you think about it. Cartridges that worked so well. Cartridges with loyal fan bases, now treated like relics. You'd expect those rounds to stay alive, passed down through families, rifles and all. But that's not the way things turned out. Why? The truth is simple. Ballistics evolved. Modern bullet design and advanced powder blends let smaller cartridges hit harder, fly flatter, and penetrate deeper than ever before. Back in the day, if you wanted a cartridge that hit with authority, you reached for a .35 caliber without hesitation. Today, hunters have options that deliver equal or better numbers with wider availability. A few diehards still swear by their .35s, but younger shooters often see them as outdated, harder to find, and unnecessary. What used to be top tier is now filed under interesting but obsolete. Number 5. .35. Remington, born in 1906. The .35 Remington made its name up north. In the thick woods of Maine and the Adirondacks, deer hunters trusted it to drop whitetail with authority. It carried noticeably more punch than the .30-30 Winchester. Most people today picture it in a lever action. But the round was originally designed for a semi-auto, the Remington Model 8. Instead of the rimmed case you'd expect in a lever gun cartridge, the .35 Remington used a rim that sat flush with the base. Its real breakthrough came when Marlin chambered their iconic .336 in it. That cemented its place in deer camps across the Northeast. Ballistics-wise, it held its own. From the muzzle, a 200-grain bullet left the barrel around 2,080 feet per second. That's roughly 1,776 foot-pounds of energy. Step it up with Buffalo Boar's hotter load, a 220-grain bullet at 2,200 feet per second, and you're talking about 2,364 foot-pounds. That's serious impact energy for a cartridge of that era. It was never a .30-30 competitor, it was in its own lane. And while plenty of lever actions are still chambered for it, its glory days as a mainstream hunting round are long behind us. Number 4. .35. Whelen, introduced in 1922, standardized in 1988. Now, the .35 Whelen is an entirely different animal. This is a powerhouse cartridge. We're talking a 200-grain slug screaming out of the barrel at 2,900 feet per second. Enough juice to tackle anything in North America, Kodiak bears included. A lot of folks assume Colonel Townsend Whelen himself designed it. In reality, it was James V. Howe, another respected gun writer, who created it and named it in Whelan's honor. The design is straightforward but effective. Take a .30-06 Springfield case, neck it up to accept a .358 caliber bullet. That's the Whelen. But simple doesn't mean weak. In fact, it's the most powerful non-Magnum cartridge you can still find on store shelves. Load it with Hornady Superformance, and you'll see a 200-grain bullet clocking 2,900 feet per second. That generates an impressive 3,760 foot-pounds of energy. Put it in skilled hands with the right bullet, and it will bring down anything that walks this planet. Remington made it official in 1988 when they standardized it. Since then, it's held onto a dedicated following, almost cult-like in its loyalty. But outside of that circle, it never achieved household name status. Certain state hunting laws, like those allowing it in single-shot rifles for deer, have kept it relevant in niche circles. But let's be honest, it's not enough to guarantee survival. Within another generation, the Whelen may be more of a nostalgic talking point than a rifle you actually see in the field. Number 3. .350 Remington Magnum, launched in 1965. The .350 Remington Magnum built a reputation fast, and part of that credit goes to Jeff Cooper. He called it one of his favorites. Alongside the 6.5 Remington Magnum, it was among the very first short Magnum cartridges put into production. It debuted in Alaska, chambered in the lightweight Remington Model 600. Hunters there loved the balance, a rifle that was light enough to carry all day, yet strong enough to put down moose or bear when the moment came. Of course, stuffing that much horsepower into a rifle that light brought recoil you couldn't ignore, but it stayed manageable. And when Cooper himself dropped a lion using this cartridge in a custom scout rifle, the legend only grew stronger. Still, the commercial lifespan burned out quickly. Within a decade of release, the cartridge was already slipping off store shelves. Remington tried to revive it in 2002, chambering the Model 673 guide gun for it. But the market didn't bite. Ballistically, the cartridge itself was never the issue. Launch a 225-grain bullet at about 2,550 feet per second, and you're hitting with roughly 3,248 foot-pounds of energy. That's more than enough authority to anchor any game animal in North America. The problem today is simple: availability. If you want to keep shooting a .350 Remington Magnum, you'll be hand-loading. Factory ammo is so rare it might as well be a unicorn sighting. Number 2. .358 Winchester released in 1955. When the .358 Winchester hit the market, it showed up in some outstanding rifles. Winchester's Model 88 lever action, the Model 100 semi-auto. Later on, Ruger 77s and Browning BLRs also came chambered for it. The design was straightforward. Take a .308 Winchester case, neck it up to accept a .358 caliber bullet, and you've got a cartridge with real authority. It was pitched as the modern successor to the older .348 Winchester, and compared to the .35 Remington, it brought more muscle while still fitting a short-action rifle. Its peak moment came when Winchester chambered both the 88 and the 100 for it. Those rifles are long out of production, but the BLR and certain Ruger bolt guns kept it alive for a while. Performance-wise, it could push a 250-grain slug at about 2,200 feet per second. That translates to roughly 2,686 foot-pounds of energy. Solid numbers. But eventually, the .338 Federal stepped into its lane. Another necked up .308, easier to find, and it took over the market share for good. Today, you can still track down factory ammo for the .358 Winchester, but it's not common. If you run a rifle in this caliber, the smart move is to stockpile brass and bullets and get serious about reloading. Even casting your own would be a wise investment if you plan to keep one of these classics in the field. Number 1. .356 Winchester, born in 1982. The .356 Winchester was purpose-built for the Winchester Model 94 lever action. On paper, it looked like a solid plan. Winchester rolled it out in 1982, right alongside the .307 Winchester, hoping to breathe new life into the Model 94 platform. Both cartridges were designed as rimmed versions of the .308 Winchester case. In this case, the .356 was essentially just a rimmed .358 Winchester. You gave up maybe 50 to 100 feet per second in velocity, but performance stayed in the same ballpark. The real problem wasn't the cartridge itself, it was timing. By the early 80s, most hunters were shifting to bolt actions and semi-autos with flatter shooting rounds. The market simply wasn't asking for another heavy .35 caliber in a lever gun. As a result, interest was lukewarm from the very beginning. Within less than a decade, it was already fading away. And out of all the .35 caliber cartridges, the .356 Winchester probably has the slimmest chance of ever staging a comeback. If you own one today, your best move is clear. Buy every box of ammo you can still track down. Get serious about reloading, because fresh factory loads are barely trickling off the line. Once that dries up, hand loading will be the only way to keep a rifle in this caliber alive. So there you have it. 5 once proud .35 caliber cartridges, all of them respected in their day, all of them either gone or standing on the edge of extinction. What do you think? Would you ever take one of these rifles back into the field for a hunt? Would it be for nostalgia's sake, or do you still see real value in these cartridges today? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with other shooters who appreciate a deep dive into classic calibers.